Dzień dobry. Assalamu alaikum. Ciao. Ni hao. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. In actual fact, I'm a little bit early this morning. So if you haven't been here before, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Every day we're live. We are me, and I'm Ken, and it's 10. And that's why we call it Ken at 10. And we're estate agents based in Southwest London, Southwest 16 to be precise, in a lovely area called Norbury. And Norbury is situated between Streatham and Croydon, and we're a busy little South London suburb with a fantastic community. And if you're thinking of doing a buy-to-let, or maybe you're a first-time buyer looking for a commutable area, we are it. Come join us, talk to us about that. In terms of the market generally, strange one. It's been sort of sporadic. Anything that's on at hot prices, people are still really, really keen to view. Lots of gazumping going on still. And funnily enough, there are lots of tenants out there looking as well. So it's surprising how busy we've been. And it feels really strange because obviously we're one of the few industries that are allowed to continue now. But just to be clear, if you are thinking of selling or renting a property, we are allowed to show. Should you be careful? 100% yes. And we are really being as careful as we possibly can be. We're actually keeping the front door to the office locked. Nobody comes in. When we go out, we lock it again. There's a bell. People ring the bell if they want to talk to us. And wherever possible, we send them away to give us a phone call or do a Zoom meeting so that we absolutely minimize contact with others. And the same with viewings, really. We're really being ultra cautious with them. Obviously, PPE on, a maximum of 2 people per viewing. I'm really trying to do all we can to prevent the spread, because as much as we do have this light at the end of the tunnel, it's a long way off for most of us, isn't it? You know, if you're vulnerable, hopefully you'll be covered by this in the very, very near future. If you're the rest of us, it may be a few months yet before we get there. Let's hope it's by the springtime and we can all relax a little bit. But until then, strange times. In terms of the property market, mad busy, especially in the range of 400,000 to 600,000 locally. So yeah, that's what's going on with the property market. A couple of other things. America, what's that about? Can you believe that? I can't believe what's going on over there. And actually, you know, it's just as well they've locked down his accounts, isn't it? But absolutely shocking to see, and really sad actually to see, you know, what was considered a bastion of democracy reduced to that. Really, really sad. Hopefully they'll get that under control soon, and we wish them well with that. Ministers have announced plans to reform the leasehold system in England, and this is very good news, I think. The initial part will see leaseholders given the opportunity to extend their lease for 990 years, reducing the possibility of the property becoming difficult to sell because of a short lease. Now, short leases are one of those things that can be a huge problem for leasehold sellers. And then comes the question, what is short, what is long? And this is subjective, because you can get mortgages normally at 3 times the term of the loan that you're getting out as a first-time buyer. So to put that into perspective, if you're going for a 25-year mortgage, most lenders will require that the lease is 3 times the term of your loan, i.e. 75 years, some 80. But of course, there are 30-year mortgages. 3 times the term of that is 90 years. So you can see how it gets complicated very quickly. And then it's a question of, well, what's short, what's long? You know, if you own the freehold or share in the freehold, chances are you can extend your lease for little or no money. If you have a separate freeholder, it's highly likely that if they speak to anybody who knows, there will be quite a large premium involved in extending that lease. So it's good to see that the government are making changes to that, and that should help a lot of people. Let's hope it comes about sooner rather than later. The government are under pressure to keep the eviction ban. Well, this is controversial, isn't it? Because yes, there are lots of tenants out there struggling, but also there are lots of landlords struggling as well. Many of our landlord clients rely on their rent for their pension, for their income, day-to-day living. And so if a tenant doesn't pay, you know, they struggle. And good morning, Tarek. Are we getting normal numbers of view instructions? Yeah, that's a very good question, Tarek. Yeah, I've just had a question by Tarek saying, are we getting normal numbers of instructions through the door? And we're getting a good number of instructions through, Tarek, actually, surprisingly. Many of them have been considering moving for a while, and this is brought about by the SDLT holiday. Some of them, of course, now we're already in sort of early January, first week in January is gone, hasn't it? 7th of January today. There's every possibility that that deadline might not be made out. It's my belief, given the importance and the stress that the government had given, the weight which they've given to the housing market in terms of the lockdown. And what I mean by that is here we are working still, allowed to show houses, allowed to take on houses, allowed to sell houses, the conveyancing process, the mortgage process, all up and running and live, albeit at a much slower rate because either A, they're snowed under, or B, many of their staff not well. The market does continue apace. We expect this to continue for some time. I also suspect, and have suspected for a long time, that the SDLT holiday will be extended, Tarek. Nobody can guarantee this, and I'm certainly not out there saying definitely this will happen. But my gut feeling is, if I'm in government, I'm not going to say so right now because I actually want the impetus. I want people to think that this is it, and you have to get in before the 31st of March. But my gut feeling is we may hear an announcement saying that that's been extended in order to prevent the blind panic that will set about come, I'd say, early March, and will continue on. So let's hope so. Nobody can really say, because obviously the other side of the coin is some will argue, rightly so, the government don't have much money. The money that they have is being spent supporting people that are furloughed or in lockdown. So really, really difficult times. And we're very, very fortunate to be one of the industries that's been, if you like, let off or let out in order to do business. And there's a very good reason for that. And that is that when houses are sold, so much of the other economy is fired off. People that buy houses need to employ builders. They need new appliances quite often. They need to employ removals companies, solicitors, banks, lenders. All sorts of different people are involved in the process, and surveyors, of course, as well. So it makes a massive difference to a lot of people's livelihoods and to the economy in general when these things go through. And of course, there's still a take for the government because quite often there'll be people in these chains that knock on where, yes, they'll be saving a bit of stamp duty at the bottom, but the government's coffers will be filled up because still, if you're a second-time buyer, you're a buy-to-let investor, you're paying that 3% premium anyway. And that's still there regardless of the 31st of March deadline, meaning that if you're a buy-to-let investor, yes, you've got off quite a lot of stamp duty, but actually the government has still got 3% of your transaction in their coffers. And then if you multiply that up, that becomes a lot of money for the government, and they need that cash right now. So my belief is that they're doing this for a reason of actually filling the coffers because of the level of transactions that will go through because in the light of this. So we'll see, Tarek. But yeah, in terms of the number of new instructions, yes, number of new instructions is pretty good considering the pandemic. Not massive, but pretty good. Certainly the number of valuations is not as busy as it normally would be. A lot of people, I think, are a little bit frightened to have people around their house, understandably so. So many times now we will do Zoom valuations, and we're always happy to do that if people aren't comfortable. Sometimes we can stand out in the garden, have a chat with the client there. Sometimes people are happy to let us in, and we'll go in with PPE on, and we're happy to do that with social distancing and careful measures in place. But we are being ultra cautious, and I think that's the right thing to be in this market. And by the same token, there's business to be done. People need to be helped. People need to move, and we're here to do that. Just anecdotally today as well, we had a lady call up earlier on who is under offer to a developer in another area, and she's reached us by reputation, by friend of a friend kind of situation. And her agent has actually been trying to sell her house, inverted commas. When she approached the agent, she already had a buyer, and this buyer was a developer, and this developer was allegedly going to buy a house. She just wanted the agent to oversee the transaction, if you will, but by the same token, leave the house on the market in case there was any other interest. Well, she's since discovered that whilst the house is on the market, the agent was putting off buyers. Yes, that's right, actually putting off buyers, and she was confused by this. And I explained that sometimes what happens is that these developers will approach agents and they'll say, look, if this deal goes through, we'll give you £10,000 off the record. And therefore, you need to know whose side people are on. And quite often agents will therefore side with the developer, you know, and that's what I suspect has happened here, and why the agent is putting off additional viewings and not really on the side of the seller at all. So they did it with all good intention of getting an agent involved to help them, and actually they've done the opposite. Awful situation. So we're going to step in and help there. And obviously, as far as we're concerned, we don't really care. You know, you can come in and, you know, we get paid by our seller client and nobody else. So therefore, she's coming over to us to help out, and we will certainly do that. And, you know, if you've got problems with your property, quite often we find that people phone up for a bit of advice, and we can help in ways that they wouldn't expect. So do call us, even if you're out of area. You just like a bit of advice, a bit of a brain pick. If you're selling or renting, it's what we're here for. It's what we like to do. It's part of the service. So I hope you're having a great day today. We've got quite a busy day, some inspections going on, valuation on a lovely big chunky house in the ever popular Pollard's Hill. So looking forward to seeing them, and hopefully we can get that one on the market as well. And apart from that, the weather here in SW16, it's not snowing, it's quite mild again. My colleagues just come in from around the Sevenoaks way, and the snow is thick there. And here we are, like nothing's happening. It's like a different country, honestly. So I hope you have a good day today. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with another Ken at 10. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe and well.